everyone, and welcome back to episode 66 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. And today's episode is a fun recap of the men's and women's basketball seasons with Tyler Neal. I had Tyler on back in November to do an episode to prepare for the basketball season and talk about all of the things and people that we were watching throughout the season. And so it was nice to sit back down with him, do a little recap on those things, talk about certain players, the portal, going forward, and all of the things. So I can't wait for you guys to hear that conversation with Tyler. In case you forgot, Tyler is a former Hooper at OU, and he is also a radio personality on the franchise and the voice of women's basketball with his co-host Brian Brinkley, and he traveled with the women's basketball team all season long and did their radio on the air. So it was so much fun to sit down and talk with Tyler. Before we get started, let's run through a couple of housekeeping things, thank our sponsors, and do the Sooner headlines of the week. So first off the bat, thanks to my sponsor, Marvin's Place Art Gallery, fine art gallery and listening room in the Depot District in Ardmore, Oklahoma. Come experience amazing artwork, and on Friday nights, visit the listening room, an intimate and unplugged venue. We host singer-songwriters on Friday evenings from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Relax with a glass of wine or a craft beer and enjoy some wonderful music. You can find out more, including links to all of their social media, their music calendar, and all artwork and jewelry available at the gallery on their website at marvinsplace.gallery. Also wanted to give a quick plug for Marvin's Place and one of the artists that is coming up at the gallery on August the 28th. That's a Friday evening. Ben Brock music will be playing at the gallery. I'm planning to be there. I would love to see you there. And the reason I bring this up is Ben is the uncle to our baseball catcher, Brendan Brock. I've mentioned them a couple of times on the podcast before. Of course, I hosted Brendan back in March on the show. And so I'm looking forward to going to hear Ben. I have actually heard him before, met up with their family at the game a couple of weeks ago. Super nice people, very talented musicians. So mark your calendars if you want to make your way down to Southern Oklahoma. That'd be a great time to do it. And on your way to Marvin's Place, you can stop by my other sponsor, Therapy to Go, the funnest place in town to drive through for a drink. You don't even have to get out of your car. They have a large variety of spirits, as well as fountain drinks and snacks, and you can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy to Go Ardmore. Also, want to do a quick plug for my merch shop. I have upgraded my water bottle. If you've watched this show, you have seen me sipping from just a regular plastic water bottle for quite some time. My birthday was this last week. My husband hooked me up with a Nawala, and I have put some fun stickers on. If you would like a sticker, I have these stickers as well as just the script font. If you're watching the video, you can see my shirt. These are in the merch shop at soonergirl.bigcartel.com. It is in my link in bio on all of my social media at SoonerGirlPod on all platforms. You will find my link tree and everything is linked there. I hope that you will go and follow the show, download, share with a friend, check out the merch, check out my Substack. Lots going on there. Grab you a sticker, one of the fonts that you prefer. This is a rather large one. There are smaller ones in the merch shop. But I am working on getting a crimson colored shirt in the merch shop. This one is a little too dark for me, but I had it printed, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it. I'm working on getting a more crimson colored shirt in the merch shop, so stay tuned for that. I know I had a couple people asking about that, so those are coming soon. Okay, just a quick update on where I will be this week, where you can find me as of right now, as I'm recording this on Monday afternoon, the 13th. Bedlam softball this coming Wednesday, the 15th. So the day this episode drops, if you're coming to Bedlam softball that night in Oklahoma City, I would love to see you there, assuming the weather does not mess with those plans. I guess we will find out. But as of recording time, Bedlam softball Wednesday night, I will be there. Softball versus Arkansas on Friday night, the 17th, I will be there as well. The women's lacrosse senior day, Saturday morning before the spring game. They play at 8:30 and 9:30 on the intramural fields. They're just a couple blocks from campus. I will be there Saturday morning, and then I will be heading over to the spring game at noon on Saturday the 18th. This coming weekend has been dubbed a Super Sooner weekend, as baseball is hosting a weekend series with Missouri Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Again, that spring game on Saturday the 18th. Softball hosting Arkansas Friday, Saturday, Sunday series as well. Women's tennis hosting the SEC tournament in Norman. Sooners are the number one seed, so we got that double bye. We're not playing till Friday afternoon at 3 o'clock. But lots going on in Norman this weekend, lots of opportunity to get out and support our Sooners. So I hope to see you somewhere on campus this weekend. Also, Saturday the 18th, after the spring game, it's the annual spring game party hosted by Scissorhands at Coach's Corner. It's from 6 to 10 p.m. and I hope to see you there. I'm going to be there with a group of friends. We're going to have an early dinner and then I'm going to hang around for the party for a little while. So I would love to see you there. If you're going to be out and about and making any of these events, give me a holler, look me up. I would love to say hello. Okay, on to a quick injury segment with Dr. Jason Leinen. We haven't seen him in a while, as luckily we haven't had a lot to talk about injury wise, but we were going to try to talk last week, but some scheduling conflicts got in the way, but it actually worked out well because we had something else to add to the list, unfortunately, this week. So I hope you enjoyed this quick segment with Dr. Jason Leinen. Oh my gosh, I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
I know, it's been too long. Yeah.
I've seen you in real life a couple of times, but
Yeah.
luckily it's been pretty quiet as far as injuries go. So we haven't had a ton to talk about, but then it seems like we had quite a few at one time.
Yeah. Yeah. Made it through most of the basketball season, I guess, without anything
We
crazy
really
for
did.
either girls or the guys. But
I know, we really did. We did have one men's basketball player that had an ankle surgery, but I don't know any details on it. So
mm,
that's why I didn't bring it up with you. But Dayton
yeah.
Forsyth, he didn't travel out to Vegas with them because he did have a surgery like that week before. I'm friends with his family, and they told me that he'll be good to go for the practices and preseason and all that
Okay,
come
good.
August. So that's why they went ahead to do it now and get it out of the way, even though we
Right.
had to miss the crown. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know again a ton of details about that ankle, so that's why I know we've kind of talked a little bit about ankles before. So not knowing details, I thought, well, there's no
Yeah.
really big reason in
Makes it a little
rehashing that
tougher.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, our girls, I don't think we really had anything major going on with them pretty much all
Yeah.
season. So can't complain,
That's
can't
good.
complain.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then here we go. Spring football is kicking off, so I'm sure we'll hear some things coming up with that too.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
we'll probably die down for the summer, I guess, and then pick back up in the fall. Okay, so let's just start. I know on last week on my episode, I went ahead and mentioned about Austin Reeves and Cord Rager, so we can talk about those. So Cord Rager, he's a pitcher. So obviously that lat is a big important thing for him. So we'll start with that one.
Yeah, I mean, especially pitchers. I mean, these arm and shoulder type muscles, obviously the lat muscle is most people consider a little bit more of a back muscle, but it does
Yeah.
come up into the arm and shoulder area, really the other part of the attachment of that. And so with pitchers, especially, a lot of people think about that forward motion and the strength and the motion coming forward, but for pitchers, a lot of it's also sort of that deceleration
Yeah.
phase when their arm is slowing down, and that puts a lot of forces on the joint and the muscles around it and everything. And so all these
Mm-hmm.
muscles sort of around the neck, shoulder, and the back, and even just the core and the trunk component of even that muscle makes
Mm-hmm.
a big difference. And so
Yeah.
these kind of muscle strains of these high level athletes, we've seen it a little more recently, probably in the NBA. You think about guys that they get these big calf muscles and they end up
Yes.
tearing their Achilles. It's just kind of, you have to be careful
Yes.
and really let these things heal and get them stretched out and then kind of just gradually work back into their activity, whether it be running or jumping
Mm-hmm.
or throwing. So unfortunately, you think, oh, well, they didn't tear anything or they
Yeah.
didn't sprain a major ligament around a joint or something, but those can almost be tougher injuries. There's not really a quote surgery on a lot of these
Oh,
muscle
right.
strain, muscle injuries, unless they tear something off the bone, which can happen on certain muscles, but these other ones where they just kind of get a strain or they get sometimes even just a sore muscle, or you hear about guys with back spasms or whatever, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times, and they'll be out several weeks. It's just these bigger muscle groups just sometimes take a while to do the treatments, do the stretching,
Right.
do the therapy, and get it to start where it doesn't hurt them or doesn't cause them to be limited or whatever.
Yeah. Well, he's been our Saturday starter for the most part this season, and he didn't play last weekend, and they were hoping to have him back this past like 2 days ago when we played at Vandy. He did not play at Vandy either. So I
Mm,
haven't heard any other update on him or anything. I know this coming weekend they host at home, so maybe they're planning to maybe see how he's doing this weekend, but that will have given him at that point a little over 2 weeks
yeah,
rest. So I mean, it depends on how bad it is on how long he's got to rest it,
right. Yeah, that's
but yeah, we
so that's
haven't
kind of
seen
one of
him.
those things you kind of let them. let them try to give it a go sometimes, either in practice or bullpen or whatever, and see how they feel. And then if they're okay, you
Yeah.
may give them a few pitches or let's see how they go at least.
Right. Well, luckily we've got quite a few arms we can count on.
Yeah.
Obviously, we won that series at Vandy's this weekend, so hopefully, fingers crossed, he'll be okay going forward because we need all the arms we can get. But okay, and so then we had Austin Reeves, who's our former basketball player, who's now with the Lakers. He has a grade 2 oblique injury, so
Oh, yeah.
that sounds not fun.
Well, the oblique muscle is kind of those abdominal muscles that comes around more on the side, and so
Yeah.
it can just be tough on these. I mean, really any athlete, especially when you're cutting and moving and turning and shooting, and I mean, just a lot of motions through the trunk there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of one of those you kind of go with their quote pain level can be their guide to a certain extent, but they're just limited and they can't, if you can't feel like you can shoot or turn and move over here real quick or jump without that thing firing off, then you may just have to kind of give it time to calm down.
Yeah.
So other than it's kind of not a little different than we mentioned before about a risk for tearing your Achilles or something, you try to play with an oblique strain. Okay, yeah, you're not putting yourself necessarily at risk for worse of an injury or having to have surgery. It's more just kind of, can you be effective? Are you just going to drag it out? Is it going to limp on? So you kind of think, okay, well, you got to miss a couple games at the end of the season, or maybe miss a couple of early round games in the first round. Maybe that puts you back to you can play the last couple of games, 2, 3, 4 games in the series, or if you can get fortunate enough to win a series, you're definitely good to go by the next series. It's that kind of, you kind of have to figure out between him and the medical staff and the coaches or whatever, kind of when are you going to try to come back, and is it going to be too early? Are you going to re-injure yourself? And are you going to be effective for the team? That kind of thing. Because they obviously need to be able to.
For sure.
Very well.
And I haven't heard an update on him. I want to say that was about 10 days ago when that was first announced for him. So I haven't heard an update. But again, I think they said it was going to be several weeks anyway. So that's probably why we haven't heard anything. But I don't even know what the Lakers playoff situation is, or like where they fall in the seeding and things like that. But I mean, the playoffs start this weekend.
Finished. Yeah, they started this weekend. I want to say they finished in the 4th seed.
Okay, I figured.
So I think that would mean they would play the Thunder if they win that series.
Okay, that's okay.
I think is the way it works out. But
they'll definitely want him back for that one. So I guess we'll see what happens. I don't know. I mean, I think at that point then he would be like maybe 4 weeks? No, maybe like 3 weeks.
Yeah, probably by then at least.
Announced it. So I guess we'll see. Like I said, I haven't heard an update on him, but I imagine after this first round of the playoffs, we'll hear something for sure, depending on how they.
I would think so for sure.
How they do. Yeah. So I know that. I mean, I'm not a Lakers fan, but I do like to follow Austin, and he's done very well. So I wish
he's done really well there. Yeah,
he really has. So it'll be interesting if they meet up with the Thunder for sure. Okay, so the last one I had was, and this one's very unfortunate, and this just came out a few days ago. Our former pitcher, Cade Horton. He plays for the Chicago Cubs, and he started for them on opening day, but he's going to have right elbow ulnar collateral ligament surgery, and his season is done, which is super sad because it just started. So, headgum. I hate that. But yeah, we haven't talked a ton about elbows, but obviously he's a pitcher, so need the elbow. But I really hate that for him. But yeah, what is it that entail, and what do you think going forward for him?
Yeah, so that ligament that's inside ligament of your elbow here. And essentially that's like you hear people talk about the Tommy John surgery. Yes. That's basically what the UCL ulnar collateral ligament repair is the old Tommy John surgery.
I've heard that.
Which I think has kind of been adapted a little bit over the years, and I think they do it slightly differently, or there's slightly different newer technology on some of these, repairs these days. But unfortunately, it's still a long recovery, just the way they. It's kind of one of those injuries where it's, I'm not sure God made us to throw something 100 miles an hour. That ligament is like not quite strong enough to support those kind of forces. And so unfortunately, you see you see these guys tearing that a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's, when you think about your arm coming forward or coming as it comes, back, and they're really that ligaments really getting stretched, and
That
so
makes sense.
it's a pretty common injury for pitchers. And I mean, when they repair it, I think it's fairly strong and a fairly good. I mean, most guys come
That's
back to
good.
pitching,
That's good. Yeah.
but it's like a year, kind of deal. So
Right.
because you got the surgery and you got the recovery, and then you got to get back into throwing real light and real
Oh
short,
man.
and then kind of just
Yeah.
gradually build it back up, the strength and the
Yeah.
pitching motion and all that.
I was actually out at the track meet in Norman this past Friday, and I wasn't aware of this, but one of our shot put throwers, and her name has escaped me, but she
Mm,
actually had that surgery
okay.
and
Yeah.
is rehabbing it. She's back to practicing now with the actual shot put.
Okay.
So I don't know the timing of hers. I don't know when it happened or when her surgery was or anything, but she is trying to recover. Obviously, she's not competing this season, and then their season won't start again until December, January. So she should be good to go by then. But that makes sense
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
you mentioning throwing things, because that's
Yeah. It's a
exactly what
throwing
happened with
motion.
her.
Too much. I mean, occasionally you'll see it like in football if a guy just gets his arm tweaked the wrong
Mm-hmm.
way, or wrestling or something. But
Yeah.
usually you see it in a throwing sport, and typically overhead. Not. I don't. You don't really see it too much in softball, just because the
That's what I
motion's
was going to say.
different. It's
Yeah, that's what I was
in
going to ask.
softball they'll get tendonitis kind of stuff, or but
Yes,
yeah, really it's the overhead throwing um,
that makes sense.
is going to be the main, and really baseball, is really the main thing you're going to see it in.
For sure. That
I
makes
mean,
sense.
we don't really have. I mean, I suppose maybe like a lacrosse or something, but we don't really have
Uh
that
huh.
to deal with around here too much.
Yeah, not too much.
But
That's funny. I actually talked to a lacrosse player. We have club lacrosse at
yeah,
OU, and so I don't know anything about lacrosse. So I just talked to her last week, and so it's interesting though to learn about those different sports, because yeah, that would be one where you would have something like that, but we don't hear about that much around here. Well, luckily, I think that's all on the injury front.
yeah,
I'm glad to have you back. Of course, I'm not glad to have injuries to talk about. It's always interesting though to hear what you say. I know everybody always gives good feedback on that when
well,
you're
good,
on,
good.
so I definitely appreciate it. Okay, on to the Sooner headlines of the week. Shout out to our all girl cheer squad who placed fifth at Cheer Nationals at Daytona this past weekend. So, shout out and congratulations to them. Also, don't forget Owen Heineke has his hearing this coming Thursday. The 6th OU coach Vint Venables and GM Jim Nagy will be testifying at the hearing. According to Sooner Scoop, Owen Heineke will also take the stand, as will his dad, Justin, and his high school coach, JJ Chapana. So that court hearing is in Oklahoma City, Norman, and that will determine them going forward with Owen Heineke's extra year of eligibility that he's fighting to get from the NCAA. The NFL draft is next week on Thursday, the 23rd. And so just a week before the draft, hopefully we'll get a verdict on Owen Heineke's future, if he will be going to that draft or if he will be playing and getting another year of eligibility with the Sooners. Now, he has been spotted out at the Sooner practice, of course, the last couple of weeks before spring ball. But obviously, he's not suited up. He's not playing. He's just on the sidelines, observing, talking, giving some feedback, trying to help out the guys. So shout out to him for that. Regardless of his future, he wants to invest back in the program, and that is super cool. So stay tuned on next week's episode for the verdict, that case, and I'm sure we will get some more answers Thursday, Friday this week, and I'll be sharing that on my social media. Again, at Sooner Girl Pod. I'll be posting on Twitter, of course, Facebook and Instagram stories for sure for that verdict. So go give me a follow and stay tuned for all of that. Also, not OU related, but Oklahoma City related. Cannot let this go without mentioning that Oklahoma City is welcoming a UFL team in 2028. They are going to play at the same stadium that the new soccer team will be playing at, and it is supposed to be completed that year. So pretty cool that the United Football League is coming to Oklahoma City here in just a couple of years. Oklahoma does love their football. I know the UFL is kind of hard to follow, but we do have several Sooners that are involved in the league now. So hopefully this Oklahoma team will give us an opportunity to host those Sooners across the league and possibly build a great roster with OU and OSU former athletes. So they do play in the spring. If you're not familiar, they're playing actually right now. So it's during softball season. So it kind of takes a back burner, I know, to a lot of things. But if it's a more local team, I think we'll get a lot more involvement. So looking forward to that. Just a reminder on the football front, spring game this coming Saturday, the 18th at noon. Looking forward to seeing a little bit of our new guys from the portal, seeing what we got. And so glad to see that regular game format return for the spring game after taking a hiatus last year when we had the spring combine. Just a little format we had there due to the portal, just not wanting to showcase all the talent we had. But now they have removed that late spring portal for football, so that proves to be beneficial, and now we got that regular game format back. So if you're itching for some football, tickets are super cheap. I want to say they're like $15. Get out Saturday at noon. Let's come pack the Palace. I know that they said we have lots of recruits coming in. We want to show them what that game day atmosphere is like. So I hope to see you at the Palace on Saturday. On to basketball. A quick shout out to our former Sooner and current New Orleans Pelican player, Jeremiah Fears, who has just been on something this past week. He had a 40-point game. He's the first 40-piece rookie performance in franchise history. He's been on quite the tear, and just shout out to Jeremiah, representing Sooner Nation well as he plays in the NBA. As far as our portal goes for our basketball players, we have not had any incoming guys from the portal as I'm recording this on Monday afternoon. The 13th outgoing for the portal, we have guard Jeff Nwanko, forward Andreas Holt, guard Jank Hansen, and Koala Talk. So those are the outgoing players we have as of right now. Again, we don't have any incoming guys as of yet, but I will keep you posted on that. For our girls, we ended up fairly well for the season, final ranking of number 10 in the WBCA and number 12 in the AP poll. So that's pretty awesome. We haven't had a ton of portal activity since last week when I mentioned Zaya Van's departure. However, just this morning, we had a huge announcement that Keely Park, she's a former two-time Gatorade Player of the Year from Oklahoma. She is a former 5-star from Norman, went to Kansas, played 1 year, entered the portal, and now she's coming back home to Norman, to Oklahoma. Shout out Keely Parks. Glad to have her back in Norman, back at home, and I'm looking forward to what she contributes to the team next year. Just a quick reminder, our men's and women's gymnastics teams both have their national championships this coming week. Our women natties are in Fort Worth on Thursday the 16th, and the final rounds will be on Saturday the 18th. Our men will be Friday the 17th and finals on Saturday the 18th. So again, very unfortunate that those things are occurring alongside the same time as our spring football and the Super Sooner weekend and everything going on. It's so hard to keep up with everything, but best of luck to our men's and women's gymnastics squads as they compete for national titles this coming weekend. I'll be watching on my phone. I will probably go back and watch all of the meet next Sunday when I'm home and don't have a lot going on for sure. But I do want to give a quick shout out to a couple of things with our gymnastics program with our women assistant coaches of the year for the South Central region, Ashley Kerr, Lou Ball, and Tom Haley, and our gymnast of the year, Addison Faddis. A shout out to them for those honors. And for our guys, make that 3 CGA National Weekly Awards for both Nate and Sasha. Sasha Boganosiuk is the CGA Rookie of the Week again, and Nathan Roman, the CGA Specialist of the Week. Also had our all MPSF team members announced last week with Colby Aranda, Fuzzy Benneth, Sasha Boganosiuk, Kelton Christensen, Taz Hajdu, Nico Hamilton, Nathan Roman, and Ignacio Yockers. So shout out to those guys. Okay, on to baseball. Move up to number 14 in the latest D1 poll, and a great week on the diamond this past week as they traveled to DBU last week and had a great win, and then a series win at Vandy this past weekend. So let's rewind. Last Monday night at DBU, Michael Catalano's final line against DBU in that 9-3 win. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned runs, 5 Ks, and only 1 BB. It was back-to-back complete dominant performance in the midweek performance from Catalano, assuming he might get the pitch again this coming Tuesday for Bedlam. So Tuesday the 14th is when it is supposed to be Bedlam baseball in Tulsa. Expecting to see him on the mound then as well. We had 6 doubles and 2 home runs. My guy Brendan Brock, who I had on the show just a couple months ago, 3 hits. Dayton LaChance, Gamble, and Dickerson with 2 hits each. Just a great outing in Dallas last week. Then we traveled to Vandy for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. Game 1, unfortunately, suffered a loss there, 10-5. We led 5-0, only to turn around and trail 9-5 after 2 more innings. Camden Johnson, Dayton LaChance had good hits and grand slams. A hat tip to Trent Collier for 4 innings pitched, 6 Ks, for trying his best to turn around that sinking ship. Unfortunately, weren't able to pull that one out, but we bounced back and clinched the series as we won game 2 and 3 on the road at Vandy. A 13-11 win in game 2. We scored 5 in the first, then Vandy scored 2 on 8 hits. Vandy actually led the game 9-5 after the second inning. We turned around, had a couple of walks. Camden Johnson hit a grand slam to tie it 9-9. Dayton LaChance had a 6th inning grand slam to give us a 13-9 lead. Coach Todd Butler was ejected and we got a standing O from the dugout. It was quite eventful for sure, but we were able to pull it out after an absolutely wild night. Had to set up that rubber match on Saturday. Again, pitcher Collier, 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 1 earned run, and 6 Ks. Johnson and LaChance, big hits for them. Again, to set up that rubber match on Saturday for game 3. We had a 6-5 win. Clutch hit by Kyle Branch to score the go-ahead run in the 8th inning that ended up sealing the deal for us. Several pitchers combined for that job, and Cord Rager was still out with soreness, and a hard-fought rubber match over Vandy took that series. Bigsby, great on the mound with 2 innings pitched, no hits, no earned runs, 5 Ks. Cleveland, 2 innings pitched, only 1 hit, no earned runs, and 2 Ks. And again, my guy Brandon Brock showing out with some RBIs. Next up, again, our guys have Bedlam Tuesday night in Tulsa. When this episode drops, this will have been the previous night. Weather permitting, of course. It's looking awful hairy this week, so I'm not sure how the schedule is going to be altered. But again, this weekend we have a home series as we host Missouri. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, back in Norman. On to softball. You guys, I had no idea that Jocelyn Allo was pregnant. In fact, I thought maybe it wasn't actually real news, but apparently it is true. My guy Chris Blank gave a shout out to her on the radio show during Sunday's game. But Jocelyn Allo, who is married to our former football player Bobby Evans, had a little baby boy. So shout out and congratulations to them. Also want to give a quick shout out and appreciation to SEC and National Player of the Week last week, Kendall Wells, who has just continued to hit bombs, knock those dingers out of the park, and break records. We'll get to more of that here shortly. Also want to quickly just address Sophia Bordy, former Sooner who transferred to Texas mid-year, ineligible to play this first season due to that mid-year transfer. As Plank explained on the radio this past weekend, she is no longer listed on the Texas roster online. Now, we are not quite sure what that means. We're not quite sure if she is still with the program and just isn't listed, or if something has happened. Not quite sure, but I had some people asking about that, and then I heard Plank addressing it on the radio, so I just wanted to bring that up. Sophia Bordy, as far as we know, is still in Austin. She actually did post after Texas won game 3 of that series about that win, so you can take that for what it's worth. But we are the new #1 team at Softball America poll that just came out this Monday. Game 1, a great win at Texas on Friday, 3-0. First team to shut out Texas since March of 24. Audrey Lowry, absolutely spectacular. First 7-inning perfect game of her career. She also had great defensive plays herself. Kai Miner had a great catch in center field. Ella Parker to Kendall at the plate. That out was exceptional. If you missed that, Ella Parker threw that ball all the way from right field to home plate to get out the Texas runner. Truly incredible play. Again, Ella Parker just showing out with a home run. Bella Emmerling has just gone out of this world. She had another home run that night as well. Again, Audrey Lowry, a complete game of 4 Ks. We had 2 rain delays, 82 minutes combined total in the rain delay. That game ended up lasting about 4.5 hours total. But our girls got the job done. We head to game 2 on Saturday. What a thriller it was. A 4-3 win over Texas to take that series in Austin. First team to hit the 40-win mark this season in NCAA. Molly Gacchino pitched 6 innings and had 6 strikeouts. She was excellent in the circle that day. Audrey came in to close out the 7th. Having a record set against Texas is just perfection for a Sooner. Again, Kendall Wells broke that freshman single season home run record for number 31 during that game. 3-run home run for that NCAA freshman record. Gabby Garcia had a solo home run, 4-game cushion at that point over Texas in the SEC standings. We were at 147 home runs as a team after that game. On to game 3, Sunday. Oh my goodness, extra innings. 6-8 loss to Texas as they walked us off in the 8th. What a pitching carousel we had. Storms bearing down on Austin, but we hit quite a few more home runs. We're up to 150 total for the team right now. Gabby hit a 2-run home run clutch at the top of the 7th to tie up that game and push us to extras. Unfortunately, just couldn't close the deal. But next up for us is Bedlam in Oklahoma City on Wednesday night. So the day this drops, April 15th, Bedlam in Oklahoma City. Again, weather permitting, it's looking awful hairy, so not sure how that's going to affect it. But then we host Arkansas at home this weekend. Again, we are the new number 1 in Softball America poll. I imagine we'll be up there as well in many of the other polls. But right now we have about a 2-cushion lead over Texas in the SEC. But overall, we have a 1-game lead over Bama in the overall SEC standing. So it'll be interesting to see as things progress in the next few weeks how things go. Okay, just a quick reminder, soccer spring games are wrapping up. I do believe you have one more chance to catch them in Norman at the end of April. It's free, so I hope that you'll get out and do so. They have announced soccer camps for the summer with Coach Matt Mott and the girls, so I hope you'll check out that information as well and get your kiddos signed up. Volleyball, again, spring schedule is out. There is another opportunity to catch them at the end of April at home as well in McCaslin Fieldhouse. And they have also announced some information regarding their summer camps as well. Okay, on to tennis. Our women's tennis had senior day this past Saturday. And I wanted to read a quote from my girl, Julia Garcia Ruiz, who I had on the podcast back in March. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend her senior day, and I hate to have missed it, but want to give her all the props for sure. This quote is from her on a game day graphic that they put out on senior day. She says, "These past 4 years have meant so much to me as I've grown as both an athlete and a person. Being a part of this program has taught me discipline, teamwork, and most importantly, to keep my head down and keep fighting for both small and big goals. I always will carry with me the good and the tough moments because they've shaped who I am today. Thank you to everyone who's been a part of this chapter. I'm a Sooner for life." So thank you, Julia, for all of your contributions to the program. And thank you for being a guest on my show. I loved having you and hearing your story. And I just wish you nothing but the best as you go forward. Our women are sitting at a number 7 overall ranking. We have several singles ranked as well. Evelina Lasovic, Eda Mamedova, and Julia Garcia Ruiz. Also, we have several doubles ranked as well, and Julia Garcia being one of those. Julia was also named the SEC Player of the Week last week, and she is the all-time leader in career double wins at OU, so shout out to her. Our women did host number 2 Texas A&M this past Thursday on the 9th, a 4-1 win, our 12th consecutive win, and a 5th top 10 victory of the season, defeated both the number 1 and number 2 teams in the nation in the same season for the first time in program history, following that top-ranked win over Georgia on March the 29th. Then we turned around and hosted Texas for senior day on Saturday the 11th. It was just horns down all weekend. A 4-2 win to clinch part of the SEC regular season title. Next up for our girls, again, SECs in Norman this coming Wednesday through Sunday. With the top seed, the Sooners have earned a double bye. They will play their first match on Friday, the 17th at 3 o'clock. Our men's tennis team, number 9 team ranking. Several individuals are ranked in singles and doubles as well. Also, congrats to former Sooner Alex Martinez on his success in the Open Menorca ATP 100K Challenge. He moves up to 117th place and is the number 305 spot in the world. So shout out to him for that. In case you lost count, it's 4 straight SEC Freshman of the Week honors for our guy, Johan Rodriguez, and SEC Player of the Week, Oscar Lacitas. Shout out to them. Our guys had quite the week on the road with a 4-0 win at Arkansas on Friday. My guy Bruno and his partner Lewis sealed the doubles point, so shout out to them. And then we hit the road for Texas A&M number 8 team on Sunday. They had a weather delay. The matches got moved to Austin. They played late Sunday night, but we ended up pulling out that win 4-1. Next up for our guys, SECs at Texas A&M this coming week, and OU is the 4 seed. Okay, on to track and field. We have many athletes in the top 10, many events in the top 10, and Sooners breaking records, personal best, Sooner records, NCAA records week after week. So I share all of that in my social media. I'm about to run through some here, but I hope that you're following our track and field team. Coach James Thomas, I had him on the pod last summer. I've had several of the track athletes on. Eva Kubikova was on back in December. I'm hosting Ralford and Maggie Mullings. They will be on next week's show. So if you're not following our track and field kids, you are truly missing out. This past Friday, I got to go to the John Jacobs Invitational, their first home outdoor meet of the season, and it was a beautiful day for track and field. Shout out to our women's javelin 1-2 finish that started off the day with Amaya Norwood and Allie Stevenson. Women's 1500, Gabby Barrera took the event title. Women's 4x100, my girl Iba Kuvikova played a part with Morgan Little, Tim Nada, and Jordan Atkinson to take that win. The men's 4x100 relay, Braden Paris, Corey Wyatt, Island Wallace, and Kennedy Stringfellow combined to claim that win. Men's hammer throw, Brandon C. delivered a season best and earned a runner-up finish. Connor Jones finished to mark third place and move up a number 9 in school history. In the women's 400, we had a 2-3-5 finish with Nia Parks, Abby Jichurcher, and Gladys David Mumbai. Women's hammer throw, Kennedy Clark delivered a personal best to claim the victory and improved to number 5 in school history. Women's 100-meter hurdles, Cassidy Watkins took a personal best and a runner-up finish. Men's 100-meter, Corey Wyatt finished a personal best and claimed the win. In the women's 200-meter, we had many athletes finish in the top 10. We had Nia Parks, Morgan Little, Eva Kuvikova, Kendall Johnson, Chloe Rodriguez, Allie Stevenson, and Ashley Lister. In the women's 800, we had 3 top 5 finishes, Kel McDavid, Montana Monk, and Kaylin Davis. Also, Kennedy Stringfellow highlighted the group with the outdoor personal best in the men's long jump. He moved to number 2 in OU history and the top mark in the NCAA this season. Neptune Nada won the women's long jump with a personal best. Cassidy Watkins came in second with hers. Hannah Piffner cleared a personal best to win the women's high jump and moved to number 2 in history. Tyson Ritz led the men's high jump with a winning clearance. And Julian McCullough and Trey Bartholomew followed him. Also, Zalea Dupree added in the women's triple jump with a personal best jump for her. In throwing, Tylee Dodson secured a win in the women's shot put with a personal best. Maggie Mullins placed second. Chesney Scott closed out the meet with the victory in women's discus. Hilton Green added a win in the men's pole vault. Tassani Foster and Emily Cloture finished 1-2 in the women's pole vault, and Cloture finished a personal best. Next up for our track and field crew, they are traveling to California next week. They are splitting the competition between the Mount Sac Relays in Walnut and the Brian Clay Invitational in Azusa from April 15th through the 18th. Also, shout out to our rowing team, number 22 ranking. They are getting ready to hit the road and head to Orlando on April 17th. I attended their open house they had this past weekend at the rowing training facilities. They're just on the south side of campus. In Norman, got to meet Katie Roberts, who is their ops manager. Shout out to Katie for hosting that open house, giving us a tour, making some connections there. What a facility. It really is super cool to see what our rowing team has there. I got to see their indoor tank and see how they practice out of the water. Just super cool to see, and I'm looking forward to showcasing and meeting some of our rowers in the future. Okay, on to golf. Our women finished up the Huntington Beach Collegiate and Dallas, Texas last week. We had several players finish in the top 35. Gracie Mayo, Reagan Cheney, Aaron Thigstry, Audrey Risher, and Savannah Barber. Oklahoma as a team finished 6th place. And next up for our girls, they hit the road for the SECs at Pelican Golf Club in Bel Air, Florida, April 17th through 21st. Our men's golf team closes the regular season April 12th and 13th, so they are playing today to finish up as I'm recording this. They are at the Ford Field and River Club in Richmond Hills, Georgia. Postseason play begins for them on April 22nd at the SECs at Sea Island Golf Club on St. Simons Island, Georgia. Just a reminder, we have so many club sports at OU. I do my very best to share information about them as I can, but there's just so much coverage. I hope that you'll go and follow on social media. For example, our women's flag football team. Go follow them on Instagram. They have shirts for sale for a fundraiser. I'm going to be interviewing a couple of those girls to have on the show here in the next couple of months. Also, our women's lacrosse player, I just interviewed Lauren Clark. for an upcoming episode as well. I'm planning to attend their senior day this coming Saturday. But we have so many athletes and so many sports to support. So I hope that you will look them all up on social media and give them a follow and give them your support. Okay, for my Sooner MVPs of the week. Quick shout out. I got 4 different ones. Baseball clinching that series at Vandy. Huge win on the road for our guys. A softball clinching that series win at Texas. And of course, Kendall Wells breaking the freshman home run season record. A women's tennis clinching a share of the SEC regular season title. And Kennedy Stringfellow, an outdoor personal best for the men's long jump for number 2 in OU history and the top mark in the NCAA so far this season. Okay, to end this segment with a Sooner fun fact of the week, a Major League Baseball player for 17 years, Bobby Mercer, appeared in more MLB All-Star games than any other player in Oklahoma baseball program history. The 17-year big leaguer played in 5 Midsummer Classics and 4 as a member of the Yankees. So again, thank you all so much for your overwhelming support. I cannot thank you enough. I hope that you will share this episode with a friend, especially this week's. With a basketball fan who may want to recap the season and listen to myself and Tyler, or anybody that just needs a quick update of all things Sooner sports, I've got you covered. I hope that you'll go follow me on all social media at Sooner Girl Pod on literally every platform, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and Substack as well. Reminder, go check out my merch, soonergirl.bigcartel.com. You can check out shirts, tanks, stickers, hats, visors, so much there. Ladies, the locker room is only $5 a month. We have a chat. You get a merch discount. We have monthly online huddles. I do giveaways, all kinds of fun stuff. We do have our next online huddle coming up next week on Wednesday, the 22nd. So if you want to join in, shoot me a message. I will give you all the information. You can find out also on my Substack. It's soonergirlsportspod.substack.com. That is also where you can sign up for my newsletter called The Playbook. A new edition comes out at the end of every month to recap that month of Sooner sports and what I have been up to. Also, if you're interested in advertising and sponsoring the podcast, like Marvin's Place Art Gallery and Therapy to Go, you can shoot me an email at soonergirlsportspod@gmail.com. Also, there's more information on my link in bio. Everything I just mentioned is there, link in bio at my link tree, again, at Sooner Girl Pod on all platforms. Okay, I hope that you enjoyed the recap on this week's Sooner Sports. I hope that you enjoy my conversation with the amazing Tyler Neal, and I will see you on an episode with Ralford Mullings and his wife Maggie Bookout Mullings of OU Track. Next Wednesday, we will talk sports. We're busy, so I appreciate you squeezing me in for a little basketball talk.
No problem at all. Excited to do it.
Well, you've had a busy season traveling with the girls, and I got to travel with them out to Sacramento, so I'm excited to hear a little bit about that. So let's just start with the girls. Give me your thoughts on their season overall, and if you want to talk a little bit about the seniors that are leaving, which I know are partial to so many of us, including myself. Just lots of feelings there, so I'll let you have it.
Okay, yeah, no, really fun season with the women traveling, doing their road games on the radio broadcast. Had a great time with Brian Brinkley, as always, my partner there, and just getting to spend a lot more time around them, and that the program that Jenny is building, the culture that she set, is it feels in a lot of ways like a total difference, a total opposition to where college athletics is headed. She hasn't gone without players leaving in the transfer portal, but it feels like what college athletics used to be. And I don't know about you, Larissa, but I'm, especially this time of year, you're catching me at a part of the year where it's like, it's frustrating. You see people entering the portal, you see rumors of, dollar figures going around, and, players going to their programs and saying, hey, this is what my agent's telling me I'm worth. This is what school XYZ is telling me I'm worth. And it's just, where does that leave us as fans of a program, So it's a frustrating time of year, but it's, to loop that back into women's basketball, it's refreshing being around them, because I know they deal with the same things. I mean, they have to, and for whatever reason, Jenny's been able to recruit the, players that are interested in staying around, are, realize kind of what she's building with this program and the success, of course, back-to-back Sweet 16s. As I kind of continue to answer your question there, it's really impressive. I know there's times where, you beat a South Carolina, and then I feel like, some of the fan base thinks, okay, like, you should start winning these games more often or every time now. And it's like, no, that's not the way it goes. Connecticut, UCLA, Texas, South Carolina, they are doing it on a different level. They've been doing it on a different level for a while, and all that matters. So it's just about slowly, one season at a time, get a little more experience, get a little more, where you show up to a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 game and you don't feel out of, like a fish out of water. Absolutely. You feel at home, because that's what those programs are doing, right?
Absolutely. I agree.
Every year you do that, you make yourself that much more comfortable. Hopefully by, Chavez year 2 and 3, we're looking at a team built around her, and she looks like she's played in a bunch of those. And that's kind of the foundation you have to have. So really fun. Seniors, real quick, you asked about them. Reagan Beers, obviously, what a delight for us as a fan base to be able to watch her for 2 seasons. Created by a really unique situation there at Oregon State with conference realignment. She didn't want to leave Oregon State. She is not the type to just look for other options in greener pastures, and she said that multiple times. I talked to her dad, Ike, actually a little bit about that she was kind of forced into leaving. So, I mean, how lucky are we to have had her and watched her.
Love her.
And Peyton obviously was recruited by Jenny out of high school, so they had a prior relationship before she went to Louisville. And, she's been a great Sooner as well, and an even better person. Same thing with Reagan, just great families. And then Beatrice Colton, 4-year Sooner. I was talking to her after their last game there in Sacramento. We were sitting at Raising Cane's eating some chicken fingers before we left the hotel, because we couldn't make it back over to In-N-Out, by the way.
Yeah, okay, well, understandable.
It was Raising Cane's a good settle. I was like, you may be like one of the last. I mean, hopefully, like Sahara, of course, sticks around and says, but you may be one of the last like 4-year Sooners. She was like, that is kind of crazy to think about. So. But a good season, excited for another one, and Jenny's got this thing on the right path.
For sure. Well, I talked to Peyton and Beatrice earlier in the winter about the season, had them on separately, and I have thought a lot of both of them for years, and they both came out to my podcast party I had back in February. And
oh, nice.
It was so kind of them. I've really gotten attached to them. I got to see them after the Bedlam win back in December. And yeah, they both, I remember, said at the beginning of the season, kind of in the middle, about how they thought the floor, so to speak, for us would be the Sweet 16. And making the turn, all of that. And so we truly lived up to that. And I think that they've laid a good groundwork going forward. Like you mentioned, Sahara Williams has that foundation. Chavez, of course. We could just briefly mention, I know we saw Zaya Van go into the portal, and that was sad to see, of course, with her sister having been a Sooner. I can't help but wonder if, congratulations to Coach Pauline for her amazing hire at Bama. Hate to lose her, but she's an amazing person, so best of luck to her. But I can't help but wonder if maybe that's where Zaya's going. I don't know. I could just be speculating. But anyway, she's the only portal entry we have so far for the girls, and she might be the only one. I don't know. But anyway, best of wishes to her, obviously, wherever she goes. But I'll be curious to see where she ends up.
Yeah, it's a hard one for Zaya because she's local.
Yes.
And, you mentioned her sister Skylar and her dad, of course, playing at OU.
Yes.
So, it's one of those things where we don't know any of the details and the ins and outs of it. So it's kind of hard to have much of a reaction to, other than just being bummed and disappointed. I think for now, that's a fine place to be. And obviously you said, well wishes. I think another thing to keep in mind, there are generally less spots available in Zaya. There will be plenty of programs interested in Zaya now that her name's in there. I don't say this specifically for her, but just for Sooner fans that'll be watching this, listening to this, it's a good reminder. Just because somebody enters the portal doesn't mean like every bridge is burned.
That's so true.
Especially for, I think Zaya is the caliber of player, and still a lot of potential to tap into going into what would be year 3 next year. Absolutely. If something didn't come about the way she was hoping it would, if I were Jenny, I'd take her back. I'm not going to speak for Jenny and the staff, but just, and again, I bring that up to less in the Zaya Van case and more like, hey, just because somebody's in the portal, there are a lot of things that could mean. We've seen some football guys enter and then take out right away. So, just let's not. It's a good reminder to not overreact too much. But yeah, bummer for Zaya. I think she was going to be a big part of this team, and if she does end up coming back, she will be.
For sure.
And where does your mind go? It's like, okay, Aaliyah Chavez. Maybe Zaya sees herself as being able to have a similar role on
Yes.
another team.
Somewhere else.
And if
Yeah,
that's
that
the
makes sense.
case, college athletics has created a situation where players have that opportunity to go find that now.
Mhm.
And can you really hold that against somebody, in the long
Not
run?
really.
Probably not. So now got to make sure you keep Chavez. Can't be losing both of
Oh
your
my gosh.
backcourt, especially
For
when one
sure.
is Chavez.
For sure, for sure. I mean, obviously, don't see any signs of that happening at this
Right.
point that I'm aware of. But and again, with people going out, you always have people coming in, which I know I haven't heard of anything
Sure.
about that thus far. But I know we got a freshman class coming in, a couple signees, and then of course just Coach Jenny and her success overall with the program and those underclassmen that will become leaders coming
Yep.
up the next season or two. We got a lot of potential because, back to what Peyton and Beatrice said to me about our standard is to make it to the Sweet 16, and that's our floor and just what they expected of themselves. And I don't see that changing going forward, especially with the caliber of roster, with Jenny's coaching, the staff. I have no doubt that she will refill Coach Pauline's spot in an adequate way. So excited to see where that goes as well. But yeah, I think just going forward, there's a lot to look forward to.
Yes, obviously Chavez very exciting. Brooklyn Stewart showed us this year that she's an absolute hit,
Incredible.
and
Yes.
on the recruiting front. You look at this freshman class, Keziah Lofton as well. It's kind of hard not to just think, okay, Jenny's got this talent evaluation thing figured out. Obviously, Chavez is to a very high caliber, a high degree of that.
Yes.
But, 3 players that were all ranked in the top 50, she's recruiting at a high level, and they're good people as well, especially these 3 from this last season as freshmen. When you throw in Lofton there, Stewart's somebody you can build around. I think in this day and age, you have to, and I said this last week on my podcast, but I think you have to go to Brooklyn and be like, hey, I don't know if you're going to be the 4 or the 5, but you're starting next year, and you're a key part of what we're doing. And I think in this climate, you have to almost maybe a little earlier than you'd like to, or you feel comfortable with. Maybe they would love to. Maybe they're like, yeah, Brooklyn, maybe they're on the same page that I'm on. But maybe even if you're not 100% there, to make sure you keep players like this around, you kind of have to lean into them and expect that. Now, I think in doing that, of course, the biggest issue with the roster from this year to next will be replacing Beers, right? She's a huge piece of things. Yes. So that's, I don't know if they want Brooklyn to be a 5 and they go find a little bit more of a dynamic 4, or if they'd like Brooklyn to be that and they find a like for like Beers replacement. And again, are there many of those? No, there aren't, but there are some that at least play like her and could give you close to similar role in production. So that will be fascinating. But yeah, I think, arrow pointed up, but Jenny does have a lot of work to do to keep that being the case.
Absolutely. She does. She does. I think she's up to the task. And yeah, quick plug for your podcast. I listened to it last week, checking in with Tyler Neal for those who want to check it out. But yeah, I listened to it last week and I was chuckling because I'd sent you my outline to talk to today. And I thought, well, you're hitting a lot of those points on your show. So I'm sorry to have you.
Every week on week, that was a week ago.
I know, right?
Lots changed. A lot changes. So there's always plenty to touch on.
Absolutely. Well, just to wrap up the girls, I'm excited for the future, and there's lots of great names on the roster. I know we'll have good ones coming in, and Coach Jenny, I think she's, like I said, up to the task there at hand to keep the momentum going.
I agree.
I think she will. I love her so much. I love watching her on the sideline. She is so much fun. And I gotta say, I was at the March Madness games in Norman, those first and second rounds, and the crowd was pretty good, especially given that 9 o'clock.
Yeah, that late one.
That was so rough. But yeah, shout out to Sooner fans for that. I really
absolutely
hope we get a better crowd out for them next year and keep that up for them. So okay, well, let's go ahead and move on to the guys.
Okay, let's do it.
Their recap. I know the season ended a little different than what's normal or what we even expected, especially after we turned down that NIT bid. But off to Vegas we went to the Crown, and we had a couple guys that we left behind. Dayton, of course, had surgery, so that's why he couldn't travel. And then the other 2 have since ended up going into the portal. And so anyway, let's just talk a little bit about their season overall. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's it's a second straight year where the end of the season, I'm just left like wildly impressed with how Porter is able to motivate, able to keep guys, engaged, especially guys that haven't played together a long time, in this new climate. He obviously has the inclination to be able to do that, or the ability to do that.
Yes.
And he deserves a lot of credit for that. Obviously, the non-stated part of that will be, okay, well, can we get this program to a point where even if you're not winning 6 out of 8 games, like you kind of have come to on that pace-ish at the end of these conference slates, even if it's not to that level at the beginning, how are you at least kind of keeping your head above water and staying in the thick of things, right? Keeping, not allowing yourself to get, of course, everybody talks about the 9-game losing streak. That can't happen. If you want to play tournament basketball and be, one of the relevant programs in the SEC, which I think, we definitely can. We have some work to do on a couple of different levels to get there and do it consistently. Yeah, you obviously can't have those stretches. And I always thought this team was, this roster build, say what you want about, the reported numbers of how uncompetitive we were amongst the SEC, or, say whatever you want about that. I thought it was a pretty well-built roster. Did it have its flaws?
I did too.
Yeah, it did. The SEC is a big conference.
For sure.
Tay Davis hadn't really played this level of basketball before, especially not from a winning front. Good player, and I'd love that he came and played for us. Mo Agee, obviously, coming off of being a backup and turning into a starter. Nigel Pack, Xavier Brown, both really good guards, but smaller ones. So were there flaws to it? Yes, but it was a talented roster, and I thought we had every right to have our sights set on a tourney bid and maybe even a nice little run. I'm watching Sweet 16 games, and it's like, man, if we're playing at our best, we can play with a lot of these teams. Now, no, probably not. Michigan, Arizona, they were doing it at quite a level. But, we saw us against Nebraska early in the year, and we saw how they ended up doing in the tournament. Some of those other Big Ten teams, in Iowa, I could see us really playing well against. So, I mean, season-long thoughts, disappointment of not being able to get off to a better start again, but a lot of pride and joy in watching them stick together. It's hard to do in a vacuum. In this day and age, this climate of college athletics, it's even harder. And it could be really easy to check out and not quit, but just winning is hard. And the SEC is difficult. And he's been able to figure that piece out. So excited to, see another season. Can we, have another strong non-conference slate and hopefully, a fun schedule and win a couple of, meaningful resume-like games and then, get started off better. Even if we're just hanging around 500 that first month and a half.
For sure.
Give yourself a nice kind of building point as you grow into the season, because you're not going to be your best selves on January 1st. Just not going to happen.
Right, for sure.
Jenny seems like she's kind of figured out how to get there. Maybe not your best, but like a highly competitive version of yourself. On the men's side, it seems to be taking a little more time throughout the season, but he is figuring it out. How can you, year by year, make that 2 weeks quicker, 3 weeks, 4 weeks more ahead of time?
Yeah. Well, I think back to when we played Nebraska in the non-conference schedule, and I felt like we played them pretty good at the time. And then look what they did in the tournament. They had a nice run. I watched them in Oklahoma City. They were a lot of fun to watch. But just like you said, those non-conference games do make a difference. And that January timeframe was rough. That losing 9 games was rough. I unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on how you look at it, was in attendance for a lot of those. And it's rough, and it was so hard. But like you said, them sticking together and still having a purpose and having that drive with that late season run that they had, I think that says a lot about them as players and even the coaching staff. I know we mentioned Porter real quick. I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about us retaining him. But I think that the new AD coming in, Roger Denny, he made a statement about wanting to invest more with the basketball program. And I think that he wanted to give Porter another shot with those resources. And I can't fault him for that. I don't blame him for that. I'm excited for what that could possibly mean and where that goes. So I know there's, again, mixed feelings about it, but it excites me, honestly, to hear that from the new AD coming in.
I'm with you on that. And I'm kind of on two sides of it. One, one NCAA tournament appearance in 5 seasons should be below every OU fan standard, and that is okay. And honestly, even if you want to give Porter a little bit of leeway at the beginning when he took the job, still kind of the lasting impression of COVID, the NIL and transfer portal era starting up right as he took this job, the Big 12 being an incredible conference. Like if you want to, even if you want to give him a little bit of leeway at the start, I would say 1 in the last 3 should be below Oklahoma's standard. Now you want to give him some runway, of course, to kind of get the thing off the ground, but
for sure.
All that being said, the other side I'm on, I do appreciate kind of the maturity and the way that Roger Denny has gone about this and put thought into this decision.
Agreed.
Because it is a resources game now, you know?
It is.
And he knows that coming from Illinois. We've seen they just went to the Final Four.
Final Four, yeah.
And they obviously have spent on, European players. They have 5 guys from like the Balkan region, and all those guys made huge impacts on their team. So they obviously, Brad Underwood, they had a plan there, and Denny will understand, will we see that here? Who knows? We saw Ila Tantsev, come over from, as a Russian player. Maybe we start to see more of that. I think that would be great. Yeah. But, he understands what it looks like, and I'm willing to, in a way it's blind trust. In a way it's not, because he saw it work at Illinois, and I know he wasn't the decision maker there all the time. But I'm willing to give a little bit of blind faith, because I know Porter can coach. And the thing that does give me confidence is hearing John Calipari talk about Porter around the conference tournament time. Yes. Hearing, and I'm going to forget who the other one was. Somebody was back doing studio work, a former coach, and had a lot of good things to say about Porter. So,
it carries a lot of weight.
It carries a lot of weight. They know what they're talking about. He knows what he's doing. And, I think that as when you talk about building a roster and the resources coming into play, with all due respect to Mo Wagi, I think if you give this Oklahoma team, if he's maybe your backup, or maybe you play 2 bigs, I don't know. If he's your backup and you have, one of those guys from Florida, Condon or Chinyelu, or the big kid from Georgia, Cyril, who is, rumored to be in talks with Duke, which he would be a great pickup for Duke. Name the school, the Michigan kid that came from UCLA. That's a 24, 25, 26 win team probably. Good 5 men are so important, but they're super expensive. And that's the part that Oklahoma hadn't quite figured out yet. So can Roger figure that out? Porter becomes a much better coach just like that.
Absolutely.
That's how it works.
Absolutely. Well, and again, just to bring up the crown and how that kind of plays into that, I know we got a little bit of NIL cash from that, and that was a nice surprise. I mean, the NIT, who knows how we could have done in that? Who knows how far we could have even gone in the NCAA tournament? But we got a chance to go win some cash, and every little bit helps. So, excited to see going forward kind of where that goes. And leading into that, we can kind of wrap up a little bit with the portal. We've had several guys go in already. Jeff Nowenko, Andreas Holt. They were the 2 that didn't travel out to Vegas with the team.
Right.
And then Jake Hansen and Koala Talk. I have to say, I really like Koala Talk. He's so fun. He seems to always be so happy and just a joy to watch. And I know there's lots of factors that go into these kids hitting the portal. And again, obviously, best wishes to all of them. But that's a lot of names to go in, especially on day 1, basically, day 2. Of the portal. So it'll be interesting kind of to see how things plan out as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think Jeff Mwankwo, to start with him, will end with a talk. I think, it's a pretty obvious situation of there's probably a better level for him to make a much bigger impact. Could he make an impact on a team like Oklahoma? Sure, he probably needed to shoot from 3 a little bit better so that he doesn't just get left open there. And I know he's a hard worker. I'm honestly kind of surprised he didn't make more shots because of how much I hear he's in the gym working on that. He's a great kid and a super hard worker and a good athlete. So hopefully, and he's coming off an injury as well, with the Achilles last year. So you never know how much that can affect somebody really further down the path than when they returned to competition. Holst, I was actually pretty high on. We talk about going and recruiting Europe. This is an example of that.
Yes, it is.
Legit 7 feet tall and a good fluid athlete too, and the ability to knock down some shots. I'm bummed about this one.
Yes, I agree.
I won't be surprised if one of these schools like Illinois, who's looking at all these types of guys, or especially when the rest of the country saw what Illinois is doing and they see Holst, and they say, well, he redshirted there. Maybe he's not totally tied into that program yet. Maybe we can go pluck him out of there. That's what all this comes down to, people, is, either an agent or school. Again, legally or illegally,
It's
tapping
happening.
somebody up and saying, hey, we've got this amount for you. Go talk to OU, see if you can get it. If not, then let's rock and roll. I think that's kind of what's happened in the Koala Talk situation here. There's rumors of Gonzaga, Alabama, Kentucky being in contact with him. These are good programs. Now, those are just reports. These are just, rumors, but that's kind of the type of school that's and it doesn't surprise me.
For sure.
As we move to a talk, I'm super bummed that he won't, if he doesn't continue as a Sooner, super high on him. I think he's going to be an NBA player. I don't necessarily think maybe a lottery pick. Could he turn into that? Who knows? That size, that shooting ability, and the athleticism that he's got.
For sure.
The sky is kind of the limit for a guy like him. And, he's only a redshirt freshman going into a redshirt sophomore year. So he really hasn't played very much basketball. But I am not surprised that other schools are hugely interested in him. And, the report is, I think I saw this from Brody Lusk. Shout out to him over on OU Insider. The report's just that the same thing happened. Somebody came in. Yeah. Hey, we can offer you this. Oklahoma, they go to the negotiating table there, which Lucas McKay, brand new general manager.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Can't forget.
He's thrown right into the fire here on this deal, but
for sure.
Just it sounds like Oklahoma decides, hey, we're not willing to go there, and it's hard to hold hold that against a program. At the same time, I don't know what that number is. I would have gone with a pretty big number for Koala Talk.
I know.
And I hate that college athletics has come to this. I don't like talking about this in terms of college kids, but it's where we are.
It's crazy.
So let's cross our fingers and hope that, you can retain most of the rest of the core, especially Darion Reed, Xavier Brown, Dayton Forsyth there at the top of it. Kai Rogers, of course, who had some really good minutes in that Crown tournament. Yeah. And then build around those guys.
I agree. Well, I know you need to wrap things up. I think we pretty much hit on everything that
great stuff.
we had mentioned. So, is there anything else you want to throw out before we wrap it up?
I don't think so. Always appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely.
And I know you've got a loyal listenership. You guys keep supporting Larissa here. And if you're ever looking for more Sooner content, check out Tyler Neal is checking in. Going to pull some of this audio, throw that over there, and add in some other things as well. Looking forward to that. But appreciate you as always.
Awesome. Well, thank you.